Even when we don't fully know who's motivating us, when we don't know where we get the strength from, we're not acknowledging it. But when you think about it, you say, well, gee, it's more than me. And that's exemplified by the fact that as much as determined as I was to get an education, complete the task, let's say, become a physician, I have the same drive to take care of patients, to see them, to do the best that I can do, and it's in me, and the Lord put it in me.
What's up, everyday warriors? Another pool day down here in Southwest Florida. Anyways, enough of that. Today's episode is going to focus on men's health again. We really want to drive home this fact that our health is so important to being the leaders and the courageous warriors that we are in this world, okay? God gives us an ability to take care of ourselves, but also to listen to the people that tell us how to take care of ourselves. And today we're going to introduce you to an amazing guy named Dr. John Fontaine, a cardiac surgeon. He's going to teach us all about how to take care of ourselves from the inside. Everyday warriors, let's have some fun. Let's go.
Hey warriors, welcome to our podcast. Man, we got a great show for you. We are so excited. And we've been in this series on men's health, and we're going to take it another level. In just a minute, I'll introduce our guest. But before I do that, we've got some exciting news to share with you about sponsorships. Hey, Ben, take it away and tell us about two of our new sponsors that are joining Warrior Way.
Man, is it fun to be able to tell the world that we got some sponsors here on Everyday Warrior and for the Warrior Way. Number one, it is PowerSport Share. Ride it like you own it. You're going to know it soon enough. It's going to be all over the world. It's Airbnb for the toys that we all love to play with. Your jet skis, your 4x4s, your side-by-sides, your boats. Just imagine having all of that at the touch of your fingertips, right, Rich? At the touch of your fingertips. And then our other sponsorship is True Liberty Financial. Our good friend Kurt Eck. It's the name and the meaning is in the words. True Liberty Financials. It's liberty, your own true liberty in your finances. We'll have links and every way to get to it. Just look at the bottom, click on it, and learn how you can become a part of the wonderful world of sponsorships brought to you by the Warrior Way.
Yeah, so excited to have sponsors. If you're interested in sponsoring a podcast, get in touch with us. We're excited about our brand new two new brand new sponsors, as Ben has shared, and exciting. So let's jump in. We're going to talk about men's health today, but we've got a phenomenal guest with us, Dr. John Fontaine.
He's right there.
He is just a new friend to me, probably in the last 6 months, a new friend to Ben. And we just feel like we've known each other all of our lives, but we're excited to hear about Dr. Fontaine's story. Every person has a story, and he's going to tell us a little bit about his profession, how he got into it, and then we're going to give you some tips later on in the podcast on what you can do for your health. So, hey, Dr. John, just tell us, man, how in the world did you become a doctor? Tell us a little bit about your road and the path that you took to get there.
Well, thank you very much, Rich, and it's a pleasure to be here with the Warrior Way podcast, and hope I can contribute to men's health in a positive way that would be welcomed by all. So I grew up in Bedford-Stuyvesant, Brooklyn, and when I was 6 years old or so, we were living in a neighborhood where we had a lot of gangs and other things going on at that time. Probably not a strange thing to hear these days, but back then it wasn't that common, but in Brooklyn it was. And in fact, I remember walking to school in the mornings. I was getting robbed almost every day. And then we finally changed the path in which we were going to school, because we walked to school, and we were not getting robbed anymore. And we weren't even seeing those young men. They were like only 13, 14, but we were 6, 7, 8 years old. And then they finally figured out that we were taking a different path, and then they encountered us there. And we were getting robbed again. They take our lunch money. Okay, so they take our lunch money. And but anyway, overcame that. And my parents were my mom had passed when I was 2 years old. So we grew up raised by my dad and my aunt, and so he was really a family man. He really did everything for us, having only a sixth grade education, but he was as wise as can be. He was auto mechanic. And I remember one day when I was about 12, he asked me, "What do you want to be And I said, "I think I want to be a real estate broker." He said, "Really?" He said, "Why do you want to do that?" I said, "Well, your friend, he's a real estate agent. He comes by, he's very nice. He's always in a nice suit. He gives us money." And I thought maybe that's something that's admirable. So men out there, if you present yourself well, people would want to be like you. So anyway, he said, "No, no, you want to be a doctor or something." I said, "Oh well, maybe." And so that stayed with me in my mind that doctor's a good thing to do, and maybe I should aspire to that. So we went to Catholic grammar school and high school, and I was learning how to play basketball in the schoolyard. And in fact, I remember Willis Reed, the late Willis Reed, came to my school, Our Lady of Good Counsel Elementary School, and gave us a trophy, gave me a trophy, and some of the other players because we had done well in our league. And so I went to St.
Wait,
Francis
wait, wait,
Prep
wait.
High School.
Willis Reed
Willis
came to
Reed.
your high school and gave you a trophy, like to your team or like your whole school. You don't skip over that, Rich. Come on, wait, hold on a second. Hold on a second.
I'm not here to boast, but I know I took a trophy home. I took a trophy home. I know that. Okay, I think he gave it to a few of us. Okay,
Making up for all
But
those times
anyway,
you got robbed. You went home with something better. There we go.
That's right. It was so special. It was very, very special. And I remember he was a towering individual, and his wife was like 4'10", I think, or something like that. But not to speak of that, when I was a freshman in St. Francis Prep High School, I was the first person on the line because I was short. I was barely 5 feet and about 105 pounds. I ran track, and the division in track was called midget track, believe it or not. You don't use those words now.
No.
It was midget. And I used to argue with the fellow, and because we used to line up to go into the school building in size order. So it was either him or me, first or second. So I was less than 5 feet tall, but by the time I graduated, I was 6'2". So all those
Okay.
people who picked on me when I was less than 5 feet tall said, we're not going to pick on him anymore. I ran track, basketball, but I ran track there. And I went to Long Island University for my college education.
Say that
my-
again. Which
my-
university?
Long Island University.
Okay, Long Island. Yeah.
The Brooklyn campus.
Mhm.
And so I was being recruited by a few schools because I played high school basketball. I did make the team the first time. As a freshman, I was too short, and they didn't want me. And so I got a notebook, and in the summer, I'd wake up at 7 in the morning, and I'd write the drills that I'm going to do because I'm going to make the team next year. And so 25 layups to the right hand, 25 layups to the left hand, 25 reverse layups to the right hand, reverse to the left hand, middle, down the middle, foul shots, jump shots, this and that. And the next year I made the team. And so then I was being recruited for a scholarship by universities. That's where I met Dr. J when the UMass played University of New Hampshire. I was there being recruited for a scholarship, and that was his time to shine when they were playing. Those two teams were playing, and Dr. J was leading the nation in rebounding at the time as a junior.
Wait, which school did Dr. J go to?
University of Massachusetts. And they were playing.
Okay.
They were playing University of New Hampshire, where I was being recruited there, and so they took me to the game. In addition to playing with the team players, but my parents did not. I say my parents, but because I did have a stepmom, but they did not want me to go out of the state for college. So I declined everything. I had to decline everything. I went to Long Island University, where I received a 4-year scholarship as a walk-on by Roy Rubin. Gave me that scholarship. He was a coach then. He's a renowned coach because he coached the Sixers, although Sixers had a very poor winning, they had a losing season that year. He had one of the lowest winning percentages in NBA history. But nevertheless, I was very grateful to him because he gave me a 4-year scholarship, and that's how I got my education for free. So
Oh,
then,
wait,
yes.
Rich, we got to unpack a little bit of this. This guy is just flowing. He's throwing out information left and right.
Well,
Listen to what this guy's done. This is like just so we're only at he's only 20. What? How old were you when you graduated?
Well, I was 2 years old. No, I graduated about 16 and a half from high school.
And then college. You graduated college.
I was
how old?
4 years, 20.
So 20. So he just laid out 20 years of fantastic life there in about 2 minutes and 10 seconds for us.
Yeah,
where he not only got a trophy from Willis Reed, not only did he get a 4-year scholarship to play basketball when they said he was too small when he was a freshman in high school. Not only did he get to see Dr. J play basketball in college, not only did he get robbed every day when he was growing up,
elementary school.
But listen to how what kind of individual we're talking to here right now. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and
I'm just feeling humble and power and courage just sitting there circling.
Right. And the other thing too, Ben, is I don't know, I'm just thinking to myself, the perseverance that it took to keep going with the loss that you had in your life and with some of the obstacles. Your dad must have been a really powerful influence in your life too, to keep you moving in the right direction, because I'm assuming there was opportunities for you to go in a negative direction as well, but you kept going down that path and it paid off.
That's a good thing, Rich. Yeah. Well, the opportunities for the other way had to be prevalent.
He would not have it. I can tell you a story where when I was in high school, we were let out early one day during the school day. And then so me and my friends would making a joyride on the train because we were let out early. And guess who we saw on the train going to his second job? My dad.
Oh, no.
My heart almost dropped. I said, oh my, he sees. I said, what are you doing? Because we were out early. He's going to his second job. And I said, I got out early. You better get home. So, we did.
What I love about that is what you just said, Dr. John. You said something powerful, and I want our dads. We have a lot of dads that tune into us, and they're trying to figure life out and be the best dad they can be. You said my dad wouldn't have it.
Yeah,
he wouldn't.
Oh man.
In other words, he would not tolerate that type of behavior because he wanted you on a path to success. And just a word out to all the dads is that you have to be a leader. You cannot abdicate the leadership of your home as a dad. We say this over and over again. You might say, well, I'm not a leader. Well, you are if you have kids. So I love the fact that you just said, my dad wouldn't have it. It's like, I wouldn't even think of it with my dad. And yet so many dads think, well, I'll just let my kids just kind of decide. No, that's not a godly leader. We set the path for them, right, Ben?
That is not it at all. We did a podcast a couple weeks ago, came out on leadership. Remember that?
Yes.
And how every single man, it's in there. It's inherently, it's just sitting in there. We're born with it. Yeah. If you are not taking advantage of the opportunity to lead, then you're turning your back to it and walking away.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because that's all there is to it. Because you said that my dad wouldn't have it. I don't want to tell you what my dad would have done, but it's amazing how that just seems like a foregone conclusion to a lot of people in this world right now, Dr. Fontaine. Like and you just said it just naturally, like, my dad wouldn't have it. When it comes out like that, it should be like that everywhere. Yeah. Everybody should say that. My dad wouldn't have it. No, not only that, a grown man wouldn't have it. Any grown man. You see somebody acting a fool like that, it's okay to call out the idiocracy. You know what I mean? And tell people to respect themselves and respect the way they look, respect the way they act.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's what I picked up. So yeah, you're on this incredible course, and take us into now. Somewhere along the line, you got into pre med.
Right, and that's a very good point that you and questions you're asking because in college, being on the basketball team, my roommates, and my teammates, they were mostly phys ed majors, but they were not medical majors. So, and they took biology, introductory biology, and if they got a D in the course, they were happy. So yeah, and I couldn't believe it because this was they were saying they didn't get an F. So my very first course, I think I have a C plus, and the basketball coach said to me one day, "Oh, what are you going to be doing? When you finish, your education?" I said, "I want to be a doctor." In fact, I wanted to be a pediatrician initially. So he said to me, "Oh, you should go speak with your one of your instructors and advisors." So I went to see this fellow whose name was Fiorello. I'll never forget his name. Can you just imagine how you can't forget these
Mhm.
names? So he said to me, he saw that C plus, and he said to me, "I think you need to pursue something else." I was a freshman, and that
Oh,
was my first course. He said, "I think you need to pursue another
Mm,
major." And I said, "Really?" I said, "I didn't even. I thought as long as you pass, you're okay. You got a C. I mean, my friends would get D's, and they would be happy, and I got a C, and I wasn't even studying. I wasn't even applying myself initially.
mm,
So when he told me that, I said, "Oh no, no, that's not." I took the course over again, even though you weren't supposed to. I found a way to take it again. But if you pass it, you can't take it again. But I found a way to take again. I got an A in the course, and never got a grade less than a B plus after that.
mm,
But I remember being on the basketball team. My organic chemistry, which is one of the toughest courses you take, is pre med. The organic chemistry teacher, his name was Weissman, Dr. Weissman. He said to me, and he loved basketball. So he took me into the lab one day and said, after our organic chem lab session, he said, I love basketball because everybody knew he loved it. But he said, but you are not getting any grade that you haven't earned in this class. You better know that now. And
mm,
I really love this gentleman. And I said, yes, sir. And when people were struggling, I was thriving. I was applying myself, and
mm,
we were taking planes and bus rides to different games. I was at the back, studying on the plane. Everybody's playing cards, doing this, doing that, playing backgammon and whatever else they were playing.
mhm.
But I was studying, and so I did very well. I took my medical college admissions test and did well. I had about six acceptances to medical school before a lot of my colleagues even had one. So it was wonderful. One of the best things I remember also is we had a game against St. Francis College, and I was bringing the ball up. I was a guard then. I was bringing the ball up, and the play was called for our center to get the ball, and he takes the final shot because we were down. It was a tie score, but I saw them waiting because he was the best player. So I saw them waiting for that pass to him to try to intercept it or block it or anything. So I didn't pass it to him. I dribbled up and took the shot at the buzzer, went in, and we won the game. He didn't like that, but we won the game.
You didn't like that,
And
right?
yeah, but the
That's
reason I bring it up is because I there was a New York Times article about that the next day, and I remember telling him I wanted to be a pediatrician, and I had a photo of myself, and I gave it to my dad. That little article, a snippet. I gave it to my dad, and my dad passed away a couple of years ago at the age of 98, and he had saved it all that time.
Oh,
We
wow.
went when we went through his papers. That's one of the things we found. You know,
Man.
wow, wow.
he was, so that was a story basically. I mean, I did go and play summer league NBA basketball my first year in medical school, you
Mm,
know, and but I was on Dr. J's team again. See, we kept running into each other. Dr. J and I, we just kept running into each other at the driving range in Philadelphia later on the summer league basketball team. But The beauty of the medical school career was I had migraine headaches when I was 12 years since I was 12 years old,
Hmm.
and I used to have some bad ones when I was in college. And I thought if I have any headaches like of the magnitude I had in college, I may not make it to medical school because it's tough. And I remember looking at, after 1 year of medical school, I looked at all the notes I had accumulated, and I had more notes in 1 year of medical school than I had in 4 years of college education.
Wow.
Because I had it in the cabinet, in a file cabinet. And I looked at I said, "This is just 1 year. I have all these notes." So anyway, um, I um, I did not have one head migraine headache in 4 years of medical school.
Wow. Wow.
Did not, because I just said I wasn't going to. I was going to play basketball when the stress was high, because I remember one day we had we had like three finals the next day in medical school, and here I am dribbling that basketball you showed us earlier, Ben. I was
Mhm.
dribbling basketball down the corridor in the hallway of the medical school
Oh yeah.
building,
Yeah.
my friends looked at me and said, "Are you crazy? Are you kidding? We have three finals tomorrow. You're some kind of genius. You better study."
Yeah.
I said, and I said, "No, no, I have to do this." And then I went and played basketball for about an hour and a half, and came back, stayed up 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, studied, and did well. So I knew what I had to do.
You know,
Mhm.
Dr. John, um, I think too, I don't want to over spiritualize, but I think those migraines, I think that was a God thing that helped you through that. I think God was helping you because that's a long time to go without migraines when you've had them in the past, right? And
Absolutely.
which brings me to a question, or it brings me to an observation of what you've shared with us up to this point is, and you certainly are a man of courage, you're a man of power, you're a man of all of these things, but what I see in your life is perseverance.
Mhm.
You've really, I mean, where, yeah, other people were dropping off the map, or where you could have easily, with that professor, whoever it was, said you need to go a different direction, right?
That's exactly what I was thinking, yo. Bingo.
And
If he hadn't been there.
right, and you
Mhm.
almost doubled down
Yeah,
and said
bingo.
no, and you tell me I can't, I'm going to, and I see this dogged determination and perseverance throughout the course of your life. Um, could you pull that together and tell us, like, how important is it for us men to pursue and persevere in our health?
You know. Oh, well, it's very, very important. And it remind me of Philippians 2:13, where it's he who works in you to do the will, to do his will and his good pleasure. Okay. So I paraphrase that badly probably, but I know it
Good.
pretty well. Um, and I think, well, even when we don't fully know who's motivating us, with Deuteronomy, it tells us he gives us the power to gain wealth. But we don't know where we get the strength from. We're not acknowledging it. But when you think about it, you say, well, gee, it's more than me.
Mhm.
That's exemplified by the fact that as much as determined as I was to get an education, complete the task, let's say, become a physician, I have the same drive to take care of patients, to
Mm.
see them, to do the best that I can do. And it's in me, and the Lord put it in me. It's in me, when things happen, and situation that occurred a few months ago when you came to town, I wasn't going anywhere, until
Mm.
that situation was resolved, to my satisfaction. So I think what what I learned also is that you need the Lord, because sometimes, despite staying up for 36 straight hours, no sleep, no rest, you just grab your meals and eat your liquid diet for lunch, etc. Um, the outcome may not be good.
Mm.
Okay, and then that's when you have to realize, as a physician, that's when I realized Even though I was raised Catholic, went to Catholic, had a Catholic education up to and through the 12th grade, it wasn't enough. As a physician, that's when I realized, all this effort and perseverance that you cited, that I've gone through, that I've exhibited in what I do, wasn't enough for my patients, because not everybody survived. And maybe well, how is it that I'm able to um, do what I do and still not get the outcome? Is God
Mhm.
good? You have to think about that. Why are these people suffering? You see a lot of suffering in medicine. So, in order to understand what to do with your health, you have to really start with, if you feel fine, you don't have any cares about what's going on. You feel fine. You wait until something happens as an individual before you seek medical care, especially when you're young. You're invincible. Look at the professional athletes. They throw their bodies around, etc. So you have to start with knowing your family history, looking at your mother, father, uncles, sisters, brothers, whoever, and seeing what is it that's in that family history to give you a lead as to what you should do or what you should be aware of. Okay, so I mention that because cardiovascular disease is the number one cause of death worldwide and in the United States.
Mm.
Okay. So then we have to know, if that's the case, that means I might be subject to having that situation, developing it. So then how do I know? Where do I start to understand my risk for this? Okay. And you start by understanding, one, what is in your family history, because that's where you're going to start. Not going to start, just looking at every disease that might be rare. Do I have that condition? No, you look at your family history first. And then we know there are certain risk factors that
Mm.
predispose you to cardiovascular disease: elevated cholesterol, hypertension, diabetes, smoking, obesity. And there are other conditions also that are modifiable with intervention, whether it's lifestyle modification that one has to undertake or medical therapy if need be. You start by understanding your family's predisposition to any cardiovascular disease. Okay. Because if you think about it, there's a condition called homozygous familial hypercholesterolemia. All it means, all that fancy talk means, you have a strong genetic predisposition to elevated cholesterol. Okay.
Mm.
What is the age of an individual with a homozygous, which means that you need two genes. You need the mutation in two genes in order to have the condition. Most people have a mutation in only one gene, and they have what's called heterozygous familial hypercholesterolemia. The age of a heart attack when you have homozygous, what's the youngest age you think someone may have a heart attack? The age that was recorded for a heart attack is 5 years old in the little girl.
Wow.
She had homozygous familial hypercholesterolemia, and her heart attack occurred at the age of 5.
Wow.
Okay, so you have to know what these conditions are that predispose you to this. The Lord will guide and will modify these things and give you a fruitful life, because Jesus has come so that you can have life and have it abundantly. So, despite whatever, we inherited the original sin. We are sinners. Okay, and so we need a savior. Okay, but the savior can also modify these genetic predispositions that we have, and so we need to remember that. Now, the Lord will use people, doctors, nurses, anyone, to achieve the goal, his end. Okay. And so we have to realize that um, being faithful, being a Christian, doesn't mean that you're just going to believe in the Lord and not follow the doctor's recommendations. No, you have to do both, because the Lord isn't the one making the medications. The people are making medications. Okay. And the Lord has provided all these things, because all these medicines that we are using, just about all of them, come from what's already here on this earth. It comes from plants, herbs, and everything else. Everything is already there. The Lord has provided it for us. Okay. And enable us to have the ingenuity to create pills out of those medicines so we can take care of each other. All right. So the earth was given to us by the Lord. Okay. And so we're caretakers of what he has given us, which means those herbs and those things that are, that are good for us are already there. We just have to know how to use it. So,
And you talked about enablers, right? People intervening, like doctors, nurses, health professionals. They're there to help us. God gave them that ability, right?
that's right.
God gave them that ability to save people. God gave them ability to intervene when they need to. But this amazing part about how God works. God will also make somebody intervene, like some teacher back in when you were a freshman in college saying you better quit because you got that C. Now that created a strong individual. God had that plan so long ago for that person to intervene in that moment to give you a choice. You could go this way and God would still be with you. Or you can go this way, be the warrior that you are, persevere in the way that I want you to. And then I'm going to have you intervene in so many beautiful ways as a cardiac surgeon that you won't ever even imagine. You know what I'm talking about, Rich?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
So,
go
so
ahead,
one
Doctor.
point, I'm sorry. So one point I can add is because many may be out there saying, well, I don't have high blood pressure. I don't have any of these things that I know about. So I'm in good condition. I'm an athlete or what have you. Let's think about it. Years ago, Dennis Johnson, who played for the Seattle Supersonics years ago, and then the Celtics, at the age of 52, he was working. He's a coach of an NBA development team. He already finished. He was working out with the team. He was standing there talking to them after the workout, had chest pain, went down in front of everybody, had CPR immediately. This was a witness event, and he did not make it at the age of 52. Okay, then you think about Reggie Lewis, a basketball player for the Celtics. He had a cardiomyopathy. He died at the age of 23. Look at even DeMar Hamlin, Buffalo Bills, safety.
Yep.
January 2023, everybody's watching the game. Buffalo against Cincinnati Bengals, I think it was.
Yep. Never
Now,
forget
that
it.
was an unusual circumstance, but he had something called commotio cordis, which means that when he got hit in the chest, when he tackled the person, he got hit in the chest, and it was at the inappropriate time. I'll call it inappropriate time, but not a propitious time in the cardiac cycle. When his chest was hit, it's just like having an extra beat at the wrong time, and he went into ventricular fibrillation, developed ventricular fibrillation, needed to be resuscitated. That's a very rare thing, but it does happen, especially in baseball players, little leaguers. It doesn't happen in professional football players because that occurrence requires that the ball, if it's a baseball, hits the chest at the right time in the cardiac cycle and cause the arrhythmia to happen, the ventricular fibrillation. So because young kids don't have a well-developed chest wall, they're predisposed to that event. But when professional athletes, you have your pads and you're bigger, you have more muscular, that impact is not as forceful, and that doesn't happen. That's a very rare thing. Probably won't see another event like that in a football player for a while, but it was initially noticed during karate class in young kids when they got punched in the chest and they went down at a cardiac arrest. That's when that was initially described. And a good friend of mine wrote a paper. He's at Boston. He was in Boston. Dr. Mark Estes wrote a paper explaining how these things transpire in the field. But so if you think that you're not susceptible, there's a lot of cases. Hank Gathers years ago from Loyola Marymount, 22 years old, he died.
Yeah.
So those people out there who think, well, I'm healthy and all that, but you have to double check everything. Some things can't be prevented or detected early enough.
Yeah.
But one has to be aware that one is susceptible to these things.
Yeah. That's some valuable information right there. I mean, just as simple as knowing your family history. And so, wow, I'm seeing a part 2 in this, Ben, at some point, because there's so many things to be covered. But I just want to say thank you, Dr. John, for being on our podcast. It means so much to me personally, and Ben, and just your desire for people's health is just overwhelming. I mean, you can just pick it up. And so I just want to end by saying, I want to encourage all of our men out there, be conscious of your health. You can do something about it, and don't just let yourself go, because your wife needs you, your kids need you, your family needs you, and your church needs you. You are a needed person. And so make sure you get some good history. Find out your history and get some good checkups out there. And Dr. John, thank you for telling us your story of perseverance and the battles that you overcome. You truly are a warrior in so many different ways, that in the ways that I've gotten to know you. So thank you once again, Ben. Why don't you close us out once again? Give some kudos to our sponsors.
You got it, Dr. John. First of all, Dr. Fontaine. You're the man. Don't ever forget that, buddy. All right.
Well, you're so
This
kind.
and this
Thank
was
you.
not. This guy is really a cardiac surgeon. He's not just a voiceover artist. But he's not an actor playing Dr. Fontaine right now. And I know his voice sounds so perfect, but I just had to let that out. Little disclaimer there. But today's episode, once again, I am so grateful to be able to tell you it is brought to you by PowerSport Share. Rent it like you own it. And our other sponsor, True Liberty Financial and Kurt Eck. God bless everybody. It's been a great day. Men, do not forget, you got everything you need. It's time to be that warrior today.